The unexpected arrival. The Tholian student's fragile bone shattered like dry kindling in Eugene's hand as he gripped it just a bit too firmly in what was intended as a friendly handshake. The alien scream echoed through the Galactic Academy's majestic halls, drawing shocked gasps and looks of pure horror from the surrounding extraterrestrial students and faculty. This was humanity's chance. Eugene Coleman, the first and only human to attend the prestigious alien-dominated school, now bore the weight of his entire species' reputation on his shoulders. Every action, every word, would either prove humanity's worth to the skeptical alien masses or condemn his kind to be forever seen as primitive, uncultured brutes. The accidental injury sent shockwaves rippling through the academy on that fateful first day. Whispers quickly spread, mixed with awe and fear at the raw strength and durability the human possessed compared to his frail Tholian classmates. Some saw potential, others only the threat of a dangerous interloper in their midst. But Eugene was determined to show them the true scope of human capability. In class after class, he effortlessly solved the most complex equations, demonstrating mental acuity and problem-solving skills that left both his alien peers and instructors astounded. One faculty member in particular, the renowned Tholian scientist Professor Antares, found his fascination with the extraordinary human student growing each day. Yet for all his intellectual triumphs, Eugene still struggled to find acceptance. The vast cultural divide, coupled with the aliens' varying reactions to his presence, left him isolated. Some regarded him with reverence, others with bitter resentment and abject terror of what a human was truly capable of. It all came to a head in the combat training simulator. Eugene alone decimated an elite team of Tholian warriors, his lightning reflexes, uncanny adaptability, and raw combat prowess, leaving the once smug aliens utterly humiliated in defeat. The human had single-handedly proven himself a one-man army, but Professor Antares knew something the students did not. Hidden deep in ancient Tholian records were tales of a long-buried conflict with humanity, a war in which the technologically superior Tholians suffered a crushing defeat at the hands of the indomitable human spirit. Should this history come to light, Antares feared the already simmering tensions could boil over into full-blown anti-human hysteria. Now, even as he battles to earn his place and uncover the reasons behind humanity's long absence from the stars, Eugene remains unaware that his every action is being scrutinized, dissected, and judged. For in the eyes of many at this school, he is the face of humanity, and his performance may well decide the fate of his entire species in the galactic community. No pressure, right? As the weeks passed, Eugene found himself excelling in every challenge the Galactic Academy threw his way. In the zero-gravity training course, he weaved through the floating obstacles with a grace that left his Tholian classmates slack-jawed. His mind seemed to calculate trajectory and angles on the fly, allowing him to effortlessly navigate the complex course and set new records that left even the instructors impressed. Professor Antares watched from the observation deck, his interest in the human growing with each display of Eugene's prowess. He began to secretly collect data on Eugene's performance, comparing it to the Tholian standards he had spent decades studying. As he pored over the results, Antares discovered something remarkable. Eugene's brain structure and neural pathways were significantly more advanced than those of his Tholian peers. It was as if the human's mind was hardwired for faster processing and problem-solving, allowing him to adapt and excel in ways that left Antares both awed and unsettled. The encounter. As Eugene's reputation grew, whispers began to circulate among the students. Some spoke of his achievements with grudging respect, while others regarded him with suspicion and fear. It was during this time that Eugene first encountered Zoran, a mysterious Tholian student who seemed to take a particular interest in him. "You're making quite the name for yourself, human," Zoran said, his voice imbued with a hint of menace. "But I wonder if you truly understand the implications of your presence here." Eugene eyed him warily. "What do you mean?" Zoran leaned in closer, his crystalline exoskeleton glinting under the Academy's artificial light. There are those who believe that humans like you pose a threat to the stability of our galaxy. The Preservers, they call themselves, and they will stop at nothing to ensure that your kind is contained or eliminated. Eugene felt a chill run down his spine at Zoran's words, but he refused to be intimidated. I'm here to learn and prove my worth just like everyone else. I won't be bullied by some shadowy group with a grudge against my species. Zoran shrugged, a strange clicking sound emanating from his joints. Suit yourself, human, but don't say I didn't warn you. As Zoran walked away, Eugene couldn't shake the feeling that he had just brushed up against something dangerous. But he was determined to focus on his studies and prove that humanity deserved a place among the stars. However, as the weeks turned into months, Eugene began to notice a pattern of strange occurrences. Equipment malfunctioned during his training exercises, his test scores were mysteriously altered, and whispers of sabotage followed him like a dark cloud. It didn't take long for him to realize that the Preservers Zoran had mentioned were not just a threat but a reality. They had infiltrated the Academy's administration and were actively working to discredit him and undermine humanity's progress. The true test came during the interspecies diplomacy simulation. Eugene's team, comprised of representatives from various alien races, was tasked with negotiating a peace treaty between two warring factions. As the negotiations began, Eugene found himself the target of subtle manipulation and misinformation from certain members of the opposing team. He quickly realized that the Preservers were attempting to sabotage the talks and paint humanity as an untrustworthy and belligerent species. But Eugene was not one to back down from a challenge. Drawing upon his innate understanding of strategy and his uncanny ability to read and manipulate emotions, he began to turn the tide of the negotiations. He exposed the Preserver tactics and appealed to the common goals and desires of both factions, expertly navigating the complex web of alien politics and psychology. In the end, against all adversity, Eugene's team emerged victorious, brokering a successful peace agreement that left even the most skeptical observers impressed. The Academy's leadership commended him for his exceptional performance, and for a moment, it seemed as though humanity's place in the galactic community was secure. But Professor Antares knew better. He had been observing the Preserver movements and had grown increasingly concerned about the threat they posed not just to Eugene, but to the future of humanity itself. In a clandestine meeting, he revealed his findings to Eugene, sharing the shocking truth about the humans' advanced cognitive abilities and the implications they held for the galaxy at large. Together, they began to unravel a conspiracy that stretched back centuries, a web of secrets and lies that had kept humanity in the shadows for far too long. Eugene realized that his success at the Academy was more than just a personal triumph. It was a crucial step in securing humanity's place among the stars and unraveling the Preservers' insidious plot. As tensions rose and the Preservers grew more brazen in their efforts to undermine him, Eugene found himself at the center of a dangerous game of cat and mouse. He navigated treacherous alliances, outmaneuvered hidden agendas, and fought to protect not just himself, but the future of his entire species. And with each passing day, the stakes grew higher, for Eugene knew that the Preservers would stop at nothing to maintain their grip on the galaxy, and that his failure could spell the end of humanity's hopes for a place among the stars. The path ahead was fraught with peril, but Eugene was determined to see it through, no matter the consequences. The revelation. Eugene's fingers flew across the holographic keyboard, his eyes darting between multiple screens as he bypassed layer after layer of security protocols. The restricted archives of the Galactic Academy lay before him, a treasure trove of secrets waiting to be unveiled. Come on, he muttered under his breath, sweat beading on his forehead as he raced against time. One wrong move and the entire system would lock down, alerting security to his presence. With a final keystroke, the last firewall crumbled. Eugene let out a triumphant breath as classified files flooded his screen. His eyes widened as he absorbed the information: ancient conflicts between humans and Folians, battles won against impossible odds, and the subsequent systematic erasure of human achievements from galactic records. But the rabbit hole went deeper. Eugene uncovered evidence of the Preservers' far-reaching influence, their tendrils extending into the highest echelons of galactic power. Governments, corporations, even the Academy itself, all were puppets dancing to the Preservers' tune. "This can't be real," Eugene whispered, his palms sweating from the implications. A ping from his communicator startled him. It was Professor Antares. "Eugene, meet me in Lab S. Bring what you found." In the lab, Eugene found Antares with a small group of aliens, a Centaurian with 4 arms, a serpentine Slisk, and a towering Cronin. The professor introduced them as trusted allies against the Preservers. "We need to act fast," Antares said, his crystalline form vibrating with urgency. "The Preservers have a hidden base within the Academy. We must infiltrate it and gather concrete evidence of their experiments." As they planned their covert operation, chaos erupted across the Academy. Alarms blared, and security forces swarmed the corridors. Eugene's comm unit buzzed with an official summons. He was being called in for questioning regarding a series of sabotage incidents. "They're trying to frame me," Eugene realized, his fists clenching. Zoran and his Preserver cronies are making their move. Forced to split their focus, Eugene faced the disciplinary board while his allies continued preparations. He stood tall before the stern faces of the Academy leadership, their accusations falling like hammer blows. "Mr. Coleman, how do you explain your presence in restricted areas during each incident?" The lead investigator's voice dripped with suspicion. Eugene's mind raced, carefully crafting responses that revealed nothing while maintaining his innocence. It was a delicate dance, one misstep away from disaster. Days later, with the investigation still looming over him, Eugene and his team put their plan into action. Under cover of night, they slipped through the Academy's winding corridors, Eugene's enhanced senses guiding them past patrols and security measures. They reached a nondescript wall, unremarkable save for the faintest shimmer betraying the hidden entrance. Eugene placed his palm against it, concentrating. The wall rippled and parted, revealing a sleek, high-tech facility. The Preserver's base. Inside, they moved swiftly, downloading data and collecting physical evidence of the Preserver's experiments. Eugene's stomach turned as he saw the results of their work: genetic manipulation, neural tampering, all designed to suppress the potential of humans and other species. Suddenly, alarms shrieked to life. "Intruder alert, Sector 7. "Time's up," Eugene growled. "Move." They sprinted for the exit, but a squad of heavily armed Preservers, led by Zoran, blocked their path. Eugene locked eyes with his Tholian nemesis, tension crackling between them. "So, the human thinks he can play hero," Zoran sneered, raising a weapon. "This ends now." The air erupted in a storm of energy blasts and flying debris. Eugene's team scattered, using their varied abilities to hold off the Preserver forces. Eugene himself became a blur of motion, his enhanced strength and speed, allowing him to close the distance to Zoran. The two clashed in a furious exchange of blows, Eugene's raw power against Zoran's Tholian battle techniques. They traded strikes that would have shattered normal beings, neither willing to yield. With a roar of effort, Eugene feinted left, then dropped low, sweeping Zoran's legs from under him. As the Tholian fell, Eugene delivered a precise strike to a weak point in his exoskeleton. Zoran collapsed, unconscious. "Let's go," Eugene shouted to his team. They fought their way out, the precious evidence of the Preserver conspiracy clutched tightly in their grasp. As they regrouped in a secret location, Eugene stared at the data they'd stolen, the truth about humanity's potential, and the Preserver's centuries-long deception lay within. But how could they reveal it to a galaxy that had been manipulated for so long? Eugene looked at his allies, alien and human alike, and saw determination in their eyes. They had struck the first blow against the Preservers, but the real battle was just beginning. The fate of humanity and the future of the galaxy now rested on their shoulders. Eugene tapped a few keys on his wrist-mounted computer, sending the evidence to every news outlet and government agency across the galaxy. "It's done," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. The response was immediate. Comm channels exploded with chatter, news feeds blared urgent updates, and social media platforms crashed under the weight of billions of shocked reactions. "We did it," Antares said, his crystalline form vibrating with excitement. "The truth is out there." But their victory was short-lived. Within hours, reports of violence began to trickle in. A Centaurian diplomat known for her pro-human stance was found dead in her quarters. An explosion rocked a human cultural center on Proxima T3. Eugene's comm unit buzzed. It was the Cronin ally from their team. "Eugene, it's the Preservers. They're striking back. Hard." Before Eugene could respond, an alert flashed across his screen. The Galactic Council was convening an emergency session to address the crisis. He and Antares were summoned to present their evidence. The council chambers were a cacophony of angry voices and frantic movement when they arrived. Eugene felt the weight of countless alien eyes upon him as he took his place at the podium. "Honorable representatives," he began, his voice steady despite the tension in the room. "What I'm about to show you will change everything you thought you knew about galactic history." As Eugene laid out the evidence, gasps and murmurs rippled through the audience, but something felt off. He noticed subtle glances between certain council members, hands moving to hidden pockets. Antares must have sensed it too. The Tholian professor suddenly tapped a command into his datapad. Suddenly, alarms blared. Security shutters slammed down over every exit. "Lockdown initiated," a computerized voice announced. Chaos erupted. Several council members leaped to their feet, weapons appearing in their hands. Eugene dove for cover as energy blasts scorched the air above him. "Preserver agents," Antares shouted, ducking behind an overturned desk. Eugene's mind raced, assessing the situation. The council's advanced defense systems were all around them, waiting to be used. "Antares," he called out, "can you access the environmental controls?" The Tholian's eyes lit up with understanding. He furiously tapped at his datapad. Moments later, the gravity in the chamber fluctuated wildly. The Preserver agents, caught off guard, floated helplessly in the air. Eugene pushed off from his cover, using his enhanced strength to propel himself through the zero-G environment. He methodically incapacitated the floating infiltrators, his combat training paying off. But one agent remained. Zoran materialized from behind a holographic projector, a hostage in his crystalline grip. "It's over, Eugene," the Tholian growled. "Stand down, or this counselor dies." Eugene locked eyes with his nemesis, mind working furiously. He noticed a faint shimmer in the air behind Zoran, the council's holo-emitters. With lightning speed, Eugene tapped a command into his wrist computer. A massive, terrifying alien monster sprang to life behind Zoran, roaring with holographic fury. The Tholian flinched, his grip on the hostage loosening just enough. Eugene launched himself forward, tackling Zoran to the ground. They grappled fiercely, but Eugene's raw strength won out. He pinned Zoran, the Tholian's exoskeleton creaking under the pressure. "Yield," Eugene demanded. Zoran's eyes flashed with hatred, but he nodded in defeat. As the lockdown lifted and security forces flooded in, Eugene helped the shaken council members to their feet. He and Antares spent the next several hours presenting their full findings, leaving no doubt about the Preservers' crimes. The council's vote was unanimous. Humanity would take its place among the galactic community with full rights and privileges. In the days that followed, Eugene found himself thrust into the spotlight. He addressed crowds of cheering humans and curious aliens alike, but he knew the real work was just beginning. "We've won a battle," he told Antares as they prepared for yet another diplomatic meeting. "But we've got a long way to go to win the peace." The Tholian professor nodded sagely. "Indeed, But if anyone can bridge the divide between humans and aliens, it's you, Eugene. Eugene squared his shoulders, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The galaxy was watching, and he was determined to make sure humanity's future was bright. The hidden truth. Eugene's fingers danced across the holographic interface, sifting through countless files in the galactic archives. Sweat beaded on his brow as he pored over ancient texts and fragmented data streams. Beside him, Antares' crystalline form pulsed with an urgent blue light. "Eugene, look at this," Antares said, his voice tinged with awe and fear. On the screen before them, a series of images flickered to life. Impossibly old star charts, recordings of long-dead civilizations, and fragments of a language so complex it defied translation. "The Velari," Eugene breathed, his eyes widening as he absorbed the information. "They've been here all along, pulling the strings from the shadows." Their covert investigation led them to a remote sector of the galaxy, far beyond the reaches of charted space. Eugene piloted their stealth craft through the swirling rings of a massive gas giant, debris pinging off the hull. "There," Antares pointed, his crystalline appendage indicating a dark structure nestled within the planet's rings. Eugene guided the ship into a concealed docking bay. As the airlock hissed open, he and Antares led their small team into the abandoned Velari outpost. The air inside was stale, untouched for millennia. They moved through cavernous halls filled with technology beyond comprehension. Eugene ran his hand along a console, and it sprang to life, projecting a holographic display of the galaxy. "By the stars," one of their team members gasped. "They've mapped every civilization, every potential threat." As they delved deeper into the outpost, Eugene felt a growing sense of dread. In a vast chamber, they discovered a repository of Velari knowledge. Ancient texts lined the walls, and in the center stood a device that pulsed with otherworldly energy. Eugene approached it cautiously, his enhanced senses picking up subtle vibrations in the air. As he touched the device, a flood of information surged through his mind. He staggered back, gasping. "They can control the fundamental forces of the universe," he said, his voice shaking. "Gravity, electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear forces, they bend them to their will." Antares' crystalline form dimmed with shock. "No wonder they fear humanity's potential. If we ever reach that level." Eugene nodded grimly. "We'd be a threat to their dominance." As they continued to explore, the full scope of the Velari's machinations became clear. They had orchestrated the rise and fall of countless civilizations, always maintaining their position at the top of the cosmic hierarchy. Back on their ship, Eugene and Antares pored over the data they had gathered. The implications were staggering. "We can't fight them head-on," Antares said, his voice heavy with the weight of their discovery. Eugene's eyes narrowed as he studied a schematic of Velari technology. "Maybe we don't have to. Look at this." He pointed to a diagram. "Their power comes from harnessing a rare, unstable element. If we could get our hands on it, we could disrupt their control over the fundamental forces." Antares' crystalline form brightened with hope. "But where do we find it?" "We'll need a team," Eugene said, a plan already forming in his mind. "The best of the best." Days later, Eugene led a strike team to a hostile world where the rare element could be found. As their ship broke through the planet's atmosphere, Eugene saw the jagged landscape below, teeming with savage creatures. "Stay sharp," he commanded as they touched down. "We're not alone here." They battled their way across the harsh terrain, facing off against monstrous beasts with razor-sharp claws and venomous fangs. Eugene's enhanced strength and reflexes were pushed to their limits as he fought to keep his team alive. As they neared their objective, a new threat emerged. Velari forces, alerted to their presence, descended upon them in sleek, otherworldly craft. "They know we're here," Eugene shouted, ducking behind a rocky outcropping as energy blasts scorched the ground around them. The air filled with the sound of weapons fire and the screams of the wounded. Eugene watched in horror as members of his team fell, cut down by the superior technology of the Velari. With a desperate surge, they fought their way to the cache of the rare element. Eugene scooped up as much as he could carry, the unstable material pulsing with barely contained energy in his hands. As they prepared to flee, a towering figure materialized before them. The Velari commander stood at least 9 feet tall, its form shifting and rippling as if made of living mercury. "Foolish human," it spoke, its voice resonating on a frequency that made Eugene's bones ache. "You cannot hope to stand against us." The commander raised a hand, and the very fabric of reality seemed to warp around it. Rocks rose from the ground, swirling in a deadly vortex. Eugene, thinking quickly, activated the unstable element in his hands. A wave of energy pulsed outward, creating a temporary disruption field. The commander staggered, its control over matter momentarily nullified. Eugene seized the opportunity, channeling all his strength into a single devastating punch. His fist connected with the Velari's face, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still. Then, with a thunderous crack, the seemingly invincible being crumpled to the ground. Eugene grinned. "Why don't we find out?" The training began in earnest. Eugene pushed them to their limits and beyond. They ran drills in punishing gravity, practiced tactics in blinding sandstorms, and honed their skills in brutal hand-to-hand combat. Through it all, Eugene led from the front. He matched Zora blow for blow in the sparring ring, leaving them both bruised and bloody but grinning with newfound respect. He spent long nights with Korth, poring over battle plans and devising strategies that left the Andorian shaking his head in begrudging admiration. As the days wore on, the team began to coalesce. Old hatreds gave way to weary respect, then to genuine camaraderie forged in shared struggle. But their progress was cut short when Antares burst into the training room, his crystalline form pulsing with urgent patterns. "Eugene," he called out, his voice tight with fear. "I found something. Something terrible." The team gathered around as Antares projected a holographic image of a massive structure, unlike anything they'd ever seen. "It's a weapon," Antares explained, his voice grim, "capable of destroying entire star systems, and the Velari are planning to test it on the Tholian homeworld." A hush fell over the room as the implication sank in. Eugene's mind raced, calculating options, weighing risks. "How long do we have?" he asked. "Days, maybe less," Antares replied. Eugene nodded, his expression hardening. "Then we move now. Korth, I need infiltration plans for their shipyard. Zora, prep the assault team. The rest of you, gear up. We leave in an hour." As the team scattered to prepare, Eugene felt the weight of countless lives settling on his shoulders. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for the battle to come. Their ship sliced through the void of space, a ghost in the night. As they approached the Velari shipyard, Eugene addressed his team one last time. "This is it," he said, his voice steady. "Everything we've trained for. We're outnumbered, outgunned, and the odds are stacked against us. But we have something they don't, each other. Now let's go make history." The hull of their ship rang with the sound of weapons being primed and armor being sealed. Eugene met each of their eyes in turn, seeing not aliens, but comrades, brothers, and sisters in arms. With a nod to Korth, Eugene gave the order. "Reach in 3, 2, 1. The ship's airlock blew open, and they plunged into the heart of enemy territory. The assault. The acrid smell of burnt circuitry and plasma residue filled Eugene's nostrils as he surveyed the wreckage of the Velari shipyard. His team moved swiftly through the debris, gathering intel and securing vital data cores. "Eugene, you need to see this," Antares called out, his crystalline form pulsing with urgency. Eugene jogged over, careful to avoid the sharp metal fragments littering the floor. Antares projected a holographic display filled with encrypted transmissions and personnel files. "These aren't just military comms," Eugene muttered, his eyes widening as he scanned the information. These are messages to and from high-ranking officials in the Galactic Council. Antares nodded gravely. It appears the Villari infiltration goes deeper than we ever imagined. Back at their remote outpost, Eugene paced the cramped command center. The rest of the team huddled around a tactical display, faces grim as they absorbed the implications of their discovery. "We can't trust anyone," Zora growled, her massive fist clenching. "How do we fight an enemy that wears the face of our allies?" Korth's antennae twitched as he considered the problem. "We draw them out, force them to reveal themselves.